I like to sing whilst going live. A little bit of hold music.
Elevator music. Oh.
100%. Wow. And I tell you what, everyone just got my beautiful elevator music on our live. So welcome to Walking in the Shadows with oh, more muting me. Welcome to Walking in the Shadows with Cryptid Women's Society. My name is Lisa.
I'm Juliet, and below us we have the beautiful Katie Elizabeth.
Hi guys,
100%.
nice to see you.
We are so incredibly privileged to have the beautiful Katie Elizabeth join us today. It has been such a long time coming to make this unity happen, to come together into a beautiful little package wrapped up in a ribbon with a giant bow on top and possibly some sort of a lake monster as a little aperitif. I just kind of imagine with his light little neck. And we are just so very, very excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us after your dinner. It's actually lunchtime for us at the moment, or lunchtime for me. It's still breakfast for Juliet over in Melbourne. And so welcome to our show. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad you guys are doing great, and it's such a pleasure to be on the show. And like I said off the air, if my dogs start barking, I'll go inside because they have big mouths sometimes. Love them both, but it's like, come on, guys. As soon as I was live with you guys and they started barking, I'm like every damn time.
They knew. It's okay. Like I said as well, I've got a farmer next door to me with a chainsaw, which is just lovely. So we'll see how we go.
I have an annoying chihuahua in the back who occasionally also loses her shit. So we'll see how that goes.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Well, oh my goodness. Where do we start? Where do we start? Katie Elizabeth, you have just had the most amazing career. And, you know, Juliet and I have been running Cryptid Women's Society for the last 2 years. And beyond that, or before that, we've known about you and your work for so many years because we have lake monsters and sea monsters around us in New Zealand and Australia because we're obviously in the South Pacific. So surrounded by water and volcanic caves and all of that sort of stuff. So you've always been somebody on our list of women that we admire and women that we're like, we're going to talk to that lady.
I think you were one of our first. You were one of our very first ladies that we wanted to contact and be like, we need to talk to this lady
on our list.
Oh, that's super.
Absolutely. So and so where do we start? I don't know. How did you get into what, you know, Juliet said something about you were first into like the paranormal, maybe. Like, tell us about your life. How did you kind of dive into this sort of space and get sucked into the void that is cryptozoology and paranormal investigation?
Oh God, that's a perfect way to put it. It started, well, I guess, let's see. Started when I was 7 years old and I saw an episode of Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack. And of course, Robert Stack made the whole program with his phenomenal voice.
Yeah.
And you know, with the theme song coming on, you're all freaked out under the covers and you're kind of looking around like someone's peeking in through the damn windows. But that's what basically started my fascination with Champ. Seeing the Mancy photo on that episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Mm-hmm. And I said to my mom, I want to go up to Champlain and maybe I'll see Champ or whatever. And she was like, oh, we'll go one of these days. But it never freaking happened. It ended up happening in 2012, which is, I wanted to go on a trip up to Champlain and just see the area anyway, because it's just breathtaking, the mountains and the blue water. And it's just such a serene looking place. And I was into the paranormal growing up until, well, I was up into the paranormal probably until 2012. How do I put this? I grew up in Warwick, Rhode Island, and we were on the coast. So my dad was a fisherman at one point. He also was a trailer salesman. He sold RVs and campers and truck caps, which you never see truck caps on a truck anymore. I think I saw one last week, which is really unusual. It's something that was back in the 80s and 90s that was pretty popular. Yeah. But you know, he did a lot of fishing and stuff, and growing up on the coast, it was really interesting to have, you know, being on the water and seeing whales and dolphins and other types of natural phenomenon on the water, boat wakes and whatnot. Knowing my dog's barking now, cut it out. But it really helped in my research today, because it was something that I have eyes for the water and what the difference is between boat wakes and something totally different. And so growing up, I first, when I was born in 85, I hate to say what year I was born. I feel like I'm getting so old now.
Sorry, were you born in 85?
85, yeah.
Okay,
April
well, just
85.
shut up.
Way before that.
Just be quiet now. Okay.
Okay.
Move on.
I'll behave myself. So growing up, it was crazy because the first house that we had lived in was haunted. And the second house, well, we moved in with at my grandmother's house, and there was a couple of I've always had something strange happen no matter where the heck I've lived. But in particular, the house I was first in when I was little, I had some paranormal experiences. And sometimes they say, you know, certain people have that ability to have these sort of sense these sort of things. And it's kind of freaky. I mean, when I was born, I was only 2.5 pounds. I was a preemie. And I've heard that sometimes with that, there's some sort of ability that sometimes people that are born premature can have that sort of ability as well. Something to do with being in the womb for only a certain amount of time, where then once they're in there for longer, you start to lose those abilities or whatever. It's just a theory, but
I've heard
it was
that
really
too, though. Yeah, I've heard that as well.
It was kind of freaky though, because like I had a couple of experiences, and I started getting into paranormal research, but I stopped in 2012 because I had something follow me home, and my husband at the time was scared because he was always like, oh, this stuff doesn't exist. But then we had footsteps going through the house and water faucets turning on and things like that. So he was like, you're not going anymore. This is the end of this. And I'm glad, because I do still like the paranormal, but I'm very, very, very cautious, because I think a lot of people underestimate the power it can have.
Yeah. Did you bring it home from an investigation that you went to, or do you think?
It was weird because I was doing, you know how I am with my research with lake creatures. I'm all over the damn place. So, you know, I was at a cemetery here. There was a place down the road that was a abandoned mental asylum. Oh. And I think that might be where it came from. I had gotten some EVPs. I still have them on YouTube, which is, well, one of them anyway. Really creepy, where this guy answered my questions, and he said he was still at the place because of the child. He says, the child. And I was like, what the hell? And I'm walking by myself because my friends were too scared to come out. So I was like, what the hell? And now it's like, I wouldn't do that. Like, I had more guts back then, I guess. They say when you're younger, you have a lot more balls.
More stupidity, It's like, nah, nothing. It's all fine until something follows you home and starts turning on your taps, or like opening your cupboard door.
Totally.
You're in the middle of the
totally.
night.
We lived in, like, Lisa came and lived with us as well, but we lived in a haunted house for nearly 8 years, and it was severely haunted. Like, we had poltergeist activity, we had apparitions, like we had really negative entities, scratched, hit, you name it, like floating heads. Like,
oh my God.
And like we laugh about it now. We're like, how did we last in that house for so long? 8 years of just like
that's
ongoing
insane
activity, like weekly activity. It just became part of that. We named our ghosts. So it's like, oh, there's another one.
It got to the point where it was annoying. We were just like, no, we've got stuff to do. Stop it now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I don't think I could deal with poltergeist activity. That's just too much for me. I would be I'd be yelling and screaming and swearing at it. Get the F out of my house and everything. I just wouldn't be able to deal with it. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. I mean, there's some that are just so extreme that no matter what you do, it can deter it for a while, but then it comes back.
It comes back. Yeah.
Hey, so
And-
Katie Elizabeth, I have a question then. If you have been
Sure.
involved with, like, the paranormal and haunted houses and all of this sort of stuff for such a long time through your childhood and your youth, do you think that that helps you in connecting / searching for Champ? Do you think there's some sort of a connection there? Because there's a lot of theories around, Bigfoot being interdimensional. There's a lot of theories around, like in New Zealand, we have the taniwha, which is essentially a lake monster and an ocean dwelling creature, and that is seen as a really spiritual, elemental being or a guardian that can connect and that sort of stuff, and only some people see it, and that sort of stuff. So do you think that has some sort of a connection to the Lake Champlain monster?
A lot of people have asked me that, and my friend Nick Redfern, who's written books on Nessie being some sort of a supernatural type of phenomenon, we've talked about that. And I necessarily believe that these creatures, and I say creatures because there is more than one in Lake Champlain, are paranormal. I don't believe that they're necessarily just paranormal. I believe that they're a biological species, but I think that there's something around them that protects them. And I think this goes back to the native Abenaki and Iroquois, the First Nations people. And back in their time, what I hate about with the Champ thing is the misconception we're dealing with 100-foot long monster, or just one that survived a millennia, which is crap. I mean, come on, give me a break. You have to think of this in scientific terms, which over the years it's just been blown out of proportion. So there's a sign down at the lake in this one area, and it says that the Champ animal, well, just the Lake Champlain sea serpent, like this monster, is 100 feet long. It's been seen since the 1800s, which is baloney. It's been seen by the Native Americans. And they call these animals the horned serpents. And so going back and doing some research on that, it does say that anyone that has good intention has good luck. But anyone that doesn't have good intention to harm them, it's bad medicine. So, looking at that and reading about that, it's kind of funny because it makes me wonder my purpose for what I'm doing, the protection aspect and writing the law to protect them. And then I recently found out that I have not a lot, but I have a little bit of Native American background, which I had no idea, doing my ancestry with the Narragansett tribe, which is people of the Small Point in Rhode Island. So that was really neat. That was really neat to find that out. So, having that ancestry is it really, and I always felt like I had some kind of native ancestry. I've got some Viking and stuff too, and Portuguese Azorian, and I'm a mutt. I've got a little bit of everything. So
we're mutts. Well, we last longer. That's how I put it. We're healthier and we last longer.
Well, that's it. There you go. So I mean, just seeing the spiritual aspect of being the voice and the protector for these animals, it makes total sense because I have good intentions. Sure. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen people go up to the lake that don't have good intentions and something bad happens to them every damn time. Yeah. And it makes me wonder. It's like, what the hell is behind this? What is going on? So I believe that there are paranormal entities? No, I really don't. But there's definitely something, in my opinion, spiritually and within my spiritual beliefs that there's something to protect these creatures.
Yeah, so it's like a protective spirit around them, not necessarily, but that protective spirit around them. And and like you're saying, like these horned serpents have been seen worldwide.
They have.
It's insane. Like the more you go back into it, the crazier it is, because it's especially like you're talking about the horse head looking serpents, and they are literally around the world, and and like in artwork and in pottery and and everything like that. So it's like when I was reading your book and they were talking about how it's almost like around the ley lines, almost like where these creatures are seen, and it's like these lake monsters are seen kind of almost like in the same kind of area, not further north, not really south, but kind of like in this certain area. Can you kind of expand a little bit more on that, just to kind of make it a little bit more
Well,
understand?
it's really interesting because there are, I mean, I can't even name, so like there's so many lakes in Canada specifically that there's like a ton of sightings of these creatures. Um and we've got Champlain, we've got Lake Okanagan, we have Loch Ness. Trying to think, well, there's a ton of them.
Oh, yeah, I know this one. Yes.
Even in Ireland, there's the Connemara, where these horse eels, they call
Horse
them, long
eels. Yeah.
serpentine
Yeah.
creatures have been seen in these bogs, and it's like, where the hell are they coming from? Like in a bog? It's really strange.
Yeah.
I just wonder if so a lot of these lakes and lochs across the world, um it seems to be in clusters, and I wonder if they are connected. I never really believed in like the tunnel theory, like they're connected by caves and tunnels, but I'm really starting to kind of wonder about that. um
Mm, mm.
I mean, okay, for example, Lake Champlain, you've got Champlain, you've got Lake Memphremagog, which is a Native American name. That's north of Champlain. There's been sightings there. There's been sightings in Crystal Lake, Lake Willoughby, Lake Seymour, and Echo Lake. There's a cluster where people have seen these creatures in these lakes. Lake Willoughby's not very big. It's only 5 miles long, but it gets down to about 350 feet deep.
They're
So it's
all
a very small but very deep. I call it like a glacial crater. It's like a crater lake. It's like a big crater to me. It's so deep. And there was a story back in the 1800s of a horse team that were carrying big blocks of ice across Lake Willoughby, and the horses broke through the ice. And I think it was 2 weeks later, they had found these horses in Crystal Lake up the street. It's like, how the hell did they get
How did
there?
they get
So the
here?
theory is that there probably is some sort of tunnel going from lake to lake. What's interesting about that, when I've done some research up there at Lake Willoughby, um, I went to a local gift shop that had a really, I gotta find this book. It's this little handbook, and it's not published online or anything. It's just something that the historical society had put together, and it told about the bathymetric of Lake Willoughby. And what was interesting in that book, and you can find on the bathymetric map anyway, but that was the first time I actually saw this detail, was on the northern side of Lake Willoughby, there's this really deep hole. And that's the end where Crystal Lake is. So it makes you wonder. It's like,
yeah.
maybe that's how there could be some sort of tunnel going through. I mean, when you think about it, when the glaciers went through, there's so many nooks and crannies and crevices, and
Yeah.
and it's like, oh well, there's no caves in Champlain. That's baloney. The sonar can only penetrate so far.
That's what
You'll
I was
see
going to
just like a
say.
little
Yeah.
a little
That's
hole
what I
or
was going to
something,
ask
but that's
you
it.
because they
Yeah.
sonar the
Yeah.
bottom of the loch in Scotland, right? Loch Ness. And they're like, oh well, there's no caves, there's no tunnels, there's no entrances here, so it must be a hoax. And I was immediately like, there's no way that the sonar can go that deep and actually really give you clear identification as to whether or not there is anything further, because we see that in New Zealand as well. New Zealand
Yeah.
is a volcanic island, and you've got the ring of fire and all of that sort of stuff going on through, and huge volcanic cave systems and all that sort of stuff. And Juliet and I were cracking up laughing the other day because she was telling me a story that she'd just remembered about a caving a thing that she went to and kind of what happened. And I'm sure she's going to tell us very, very shortly because it kind of blew my mind. But it really shows you that we don't know what we're talking about as far as
Yeah.
getting deep into the earth. And we're only theorizing with the information that we have and the data that we have, which is minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it totally makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And these lakes and these areas are so vast. You would literally have to have divers going up and down the whole way around. you know, oh, is there a hole? You know, it's like you would never be able to, you know, you'd never be able to follow it. So I had a incident, like I used to go caving when I was younger. We'll never do it again. Now that I'm older, I'm like, nah, I've seen way too many movies of cave monsters. I'm not doing that.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah. So we used to do it like at the Tomo, what they call Waitomo and stuff. So we call it the Tomo Caves, and so it's very well known in New Zealand that the Tomo Caves. Even the land around it, there's like a massive caves, and it's huge. Farmers would lose cattle down these like into these holes because the ground would open up and cattle would fall in and lose their dogs, you name it. So we would do these like huge, like full days. So about nine hours underground.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, you know, so we were right in there. And so we were all caving. So, you know, you're going around. And so we were coming down this tunnel. It was probably only about a meter wide. And this was probably like 5 or 6 hours into caving. So we were right in the middle of it. And so we're into water kind of up to our waists. And it was really funny because we're all sitting there and we're talking to the guide, and all of a sudden we all stopped and turned around, and all you saw was like this thing swishing through the water and just bubbles. And like honestly, people were trying to climb the walls. We were just like going, what is, and this thing just went past us. Whoa. And they just kind of carried on. And everyone's
Oh
like,
my gosh.
oh my God, what is that? And he's like, I've never seen eels in here. I've never seen, he goes, no, it's fine. We'll just go. But it was something really big, and it just went cruised on past us and carried on down, and we're just like,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So we just no idea whether it was like a giant cave eel, but generally the eels around the caves are a lot smaller. You know, they're
Yeah.
not really big because they're smaller, less food, you know, that kind of stuff. But whatever this thing was, it would have been well over like a meter and a half, and it just cruised on past us.
That's really interesting. Wow.
And I said to Juliet, my first thought was, and who blows bubbles? Not eels.
Not eels.
Yeah,
I had
that's really
gills.
weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you never know. You never know what the heck is in like these caves and stuff. And just, you know, going over to Loch Ness and Loch Morar was just amazing because I've been wanting to do that since I was a kid. And getting over there, it was, oh God, how many hours was it? 8.5 hours. Then it was another, I think an hour and a half from London Heathrow to Inverness. So, you know, for me it was quite a long journey, and I was like, oh, what the hell? I don't sleep on planes. I'm not good sleeping on planes at all. And I was just really glad to get there. And my friend Steve Jones, who's a former magistrate judge from the UK, he's a really great guy, and he's into the paranormal. And he's dragging me in these cemeteries, as he would say. And I'm like, oh no, come on, Steve. I don't want this crap to follow me home, you know?
There's a lot over there.
And I'm like, this is crazy. But it was really great to meet up with him. He's pagan, and he has his own pagan moot every month. And it's so funny because being a magistrate judge and stuff, like I've never really asked him if he ever wore all of his rings, like his pentagram rings and everything else when he was doing the court and stuff. But having him as someone that was with me on the trip was really valuable because of his background and doing eyewitness interviews. And you know, I know for a fact, I mean, with the job that he had, meeting so many people, committing crimes and whatnot, that he is a really good judge of character.
Yeah,
So it was really great to have that asset of having him part of my team and doing the eyewitness interviews and stuff. And what was really cool was we got to interview Adrian Shine from the Loch Ness Center. And Adrian's been around forever. And so it was really great to meet him. And, you know, a lot of people think that he's like this really hardened skeptic. He's skeptical. I'm not gonna, because I have a documentary coming out called Expedition Scotland: The Search at Loch Ness and Loch Morar. So I'm not gonna like spoil it, but it was interesting to speak with him because he started out at Loch Morar, not Loch Ness.
Right.
And I was really, you know, if I have to say what is my favorite place between the two, I will just say one thing: Loch Morar is my favorite.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's really interesting because
Why?
it's so close to the ocean.
Oh.
And it's like 1 to 2 miles from the ocean. It's like, what the heck is it? It's so clear. You put the ROV in and it's absolutely insanely clear. So I had a great time there. It's so peaceful, so much solitude. And when you go to Loch Ness, I love Loch Ness. It was great, but it's so busy. You have the tour boats going down the loch. And honestly, the size of Loch Ness, you can put Loch Ness 6 times into Lake Champlain. So when I got there, I was kind of underwhelmed a little bit. I was expecting it to be much larger.
Because it's
much
always made
larger.
out to be so big, so huge, and yeah. I understand the underwhelming thing.
So without throwing too much information at us and like dumping your documentary, and now no one needs to watch it. No, everyone needs to watch it. Tell us, did you find anything
interesting
on either loch?
Yes. We did. There was what I have to do now I use the hydrophone system at both places. What I need to do now and what I am doing, because there's a lot of hours to go through, is the hydrophone recordings. We did get something quite interesting. But I can't say for certain. Well, first of all, because the documentary, I don't want to spoil it. And second of all, what happens with using a hydrophone and the bioacoustics, the sounds that you're getting from lakes and lochs and oceans as well, is that you have certain species of fish that make sounds.
Yeah.
So there is an interesting sound that I did get. The only thing is I need to start doing more comparisons to some of the known fish that are in these lochs. They're quite different. There's some similar fish to Champlain, but there are some that are not the same. And I need to really fully go through the catalog of fish sounds to make sure that it's not something like that or something mechanical, which I don't believe this sound is mechanical whatsoever. I've done so many comparisons with my recordings at Champlain that are echolocation sounds to known fish, things like boat motors and stuff like that too.
Yeah, you're gonna know those.
So we did get something interesting. I think probably my favorite part though really was going to Loch Morar. It was just amazing to where the coastline is so close. And the solitude. I mean, there's really nobody there. And I managed to get this is really, really freaking cool because there was a story that was in all the major newspapers in 1969 of these gentlemen that were out on a boat on Loch Morar, and they supposedly had come into collision with the Morak, and it freaked them out. Of course, like there was a tea kettle on the stove in the boat. It fell off the stove, and one of the guys supposedly was fighting it off with an oar, and the other gentleman fired a shot at it. And this is so funny because I heard this story and I'm like, is this baloney? Is this true? Like, who the heck knows? But I was so fascinated by the story. And so I had gone on a message board in the area, and I had asked if anybody did any type any boat for hire stuff on Loch Morar. And the guy that got tagged was the man's son, the man that had the encounter with his friend.
Awesome.
And I was like, what the heck? This is insane. So they have the same name, William Simpson. And I said, oh my God, I know who you are. So he said, come over. I'll take you out in the boat. I'll show you some different spots. I'll show you where my father and his friend had their encounter.
Wow.
So that was such a VIP experience to go out there in the same area. And what's interesting on that note, to not spoil anything, but with the theory about Lake Willoughby that I was talking about on that northern end of Willoughby, where on that end is Crystal Lake, and that's where these horses had gone through the ice and come up in the other lake. What's interesting at Loch Morar is the end of Loch Morar, where they had this encounter, is the side where the ocean is. So there you go. I'm not going to say my theory on what I think is going on at Loch Morar, but there's definitely some. They're not. They're not there all the time, and I don't think at Loch Ness they're there all the time either. And
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing.
I was going to ask that because like it was a couple of years back now where they basically did the full-on sonar. They had all the boats going, all the sonar, and they eventually came back and went, no, there's no Loch Ness monster here, and that's my feeling. It's like, well, if she's not there, you didn't see her because she's probably they're hiding in caves or all that kind of stuff, because that's kind of one of my theories too, is that there's somewhere for them to go. And you talk about like the winter time that they would probably kind of hibernate and stay away from those cooler weather and that kind of stuff, and the cooler waters. So there's got to be somewhere where they go, because it's not like they're going to be kind of full on land mammals, is it? They're not going to come up and sleep on land or anything like that.
The likelihood is they are going to ocean migrate, right?
They're going to ocean migrate.
We see down here where they go to the warmer waters and then they come down to the cooler waters as the seasons change and migration and everything else. And so to think that there is a creature, like you said at the start, Katie Elizabeth, to think there's a creature sitting in this like trapped lake that's been there for hundreds of years and there's only one. That's just ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thought. Where is the reality based around that, and science aside, like, use your brain. That doesn't make sense at all. That can't be it. So there must be another answer in that they are leaving and they are coming back for, nesting grounds or whatever that looks like. I mean, in New Zealand, we have seals that come up onto the land and will lay their have their babies right up into the land, and then they'll all come on down. They do this huge giant trek through the bush to come back down to the water. And so if you've got these nesting spaces, it's far more likely. And the same with eels. We had this huge beaching of eels down in the South Island, like thousands, like 20,000 eels coming up and beaching onto the beach fronts and that sort of stuff, onto the sand. And that was just part of what they did every year or every 5 years or whatever. So I think there's definitely credence in that theory that, in fact, they're not staying in one space. They are migrating through whatever channels we just simply can't see.
Yeah, it's really interesting because at Loch Ness, there's a couple stories, especially one in the 1930s, where a bunch of school children over by Urquhart Castle, and they saw a horrifying looking creature coming out of the woods. And I'm like, well, what the hell's in the woods? And there's two rivers there, and there's also a lot of wetland there. And so my friend Steve Jones and we went hiking through this area. The unfortunate part was it was very, very dry. So looking for any type of tracks or anything like that was really tough. But it was really interesting to see the layout and to see how it's one of the most ancient pieces of woodland in the area around Loch Ness. And it was really neat to see the diversity of how ancient this woodland is.
Yeah.
So it was really, I just thought, like, it was really interesting because at Lake Champlain, there's over 300,000 acres of marshland, which is amazing, where these creatures have been seen and going across roads at night. So you're wondering, why the heck are they going into these swamps? I believe it's really good feeding area. You have small fish, you have turtles, you have frogs, you also have vegetation. Now, my belief with the champ animals in particular, that they're mostly carnivorous, going after fish. With the sonar readings that I got in 2019, some of the still shots before they came into the still shots of the sonar, you could see huge shoals of fish moving and then them going after the fish. So with that being said, plus I had another encounter too, where I had seen a champ animal with a fish in its mouth, but I never got on video, and I hate talking about it because it's like, I have my video. I got my video from 2014. I've got the sonar, I got the echolocation.
Yeah.
So to not get that, because it was so far away and the camera that I had was crap, total crap. And now I have like the best camera And do you think I have a head and neck sighting this time? No. But I did have, I know it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. I had a former researcher, Dennis Hall, that was with me at the time, and I cried for 2 hours after. And he's like, I told you this is what I've seen before. And I said, I really thought you were full of shit. Like, that's just how I put it. I really thought he was. I really thought. So but being opportunistic, which I believe these animals are ectothermic, whatever they are, either reptile or amphibian, or maybe some strange hybrid between the two. Evolution's a very strange thing. I mean, we had whales that actually started out on land, which is crazy. Evolution's a strange thing. And with the echolocation capabilities of the champ animals in particular, when it was the Champlain Sea, it was a huge coral reef. And right now it is actually the oldest fossilized coral reef in the world.
Oh, wow.
To date, which is amazing with Champlain.
Yeah.
So with using that as an example, at that time, the water was extremely clear. Maybe at that time they didn't need echolocation to find their food. And then they developed it as the lake got a little bit more murkier, which it's not the clearest lake in the world. Depends on where you go on the lake, but especially during peak season, which is, well, it basically depends. The sightings start usually spring when the frogs and the turtles come out, which are ectotherms. So once the water reaches 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and then from July, August, September, those are the best months because the water is at its peak temperature. And then once it starts to get into like October, then the sightings start going down. But you also have where there's not as many people on Champlain either. I think it has to do with the water temperature personally. There's been sightings of these creatures on land sunbathing, which is an ectothermic trait. It's a mammal trait too. Seals, whales will come up for to get warmth, but they have the inner core temperature to sustain their outer core. Ectotherms don't. They have to suck in that outside temperature to sustain their inner core temperature. And also they need vitamin D to sustain bone growth and whatnot as well. So I think we're dealing with an ectothermic species, whatever they may be.
That's interesting because we've got stories of, so I go back to the Taniwha, and there's loads of different versions of the Taniwha and names that we call it in New Zealand and that sort of stuff. But there are stories of said Taniwha having 4 feet and walking up onto rocks and sunbathing.
That's interesting.
And
that's
huge,
cool.
Big,
because I've heard this. I've heard of the creature, but I've never really heard any stories. So that's really great.
Well, I love that connection. That I didn't realize that champ creatures have been seen sunbathing. And so that's a really special connection that I've just kind of made with the New Zealand Taniwha, because there's hundreds, if not thousands now, of stories of seeing this sea monster, lake monster up onto, the land and then in the water, and all of that sort of stuff. And I mean, the same thing goes with, there's creatures or reptiles in Australia that grow absolutely enormous, and then going up to like, Papua New Guinea, the islands above Australia, where they have just a huge array of different kind of lizard type creatures that go into the water and then come up onto the rocks as well and sunbathe. So, and they're massive, like they're giant. There's stories of like Salvatore lizards that are 20 foot long, absolutely massive. So it's so interesting. Ooh, can I read
it's really, really cool.
Can I read a comment really quickly? We've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
So thank you everyone for joining us. You're all fantastic. Feel free to drop as many questions as you want in the comments, and Katie Elizabeth will read them all, we promise. Thank you to the indescribable Octoman said, I've had a disembodied hand touch me. So freaky.
I'm gonna just like
and he says he lives 5 minutes down from Rhode Island, so I'm sure
oh my gosh, that's too funny. Yep, that's where I'm from. Yep.
Crazy. Orange Cat Love, hey, has anyone that you know of done any DNA tests on the water in Lake Champlain like they did in Loch Ness?
right here. I've done it.
Oh,
The
tell
only
us
the
about
only the only problem with it was it was through a television program on the CW network called Mysteries Decoded.
it.
This was during the pandemic, and I kind of, how do I put this? I attribute the results to probably lack of preparation, so to speak, because what had happened was they said that the lab that they originally was they were going to do it through wasn't open. I'm like, what the hell? So it took them forever to send the water samples to the other lab. And here's the thing with eDNA testing that you kind of have to think of. If you were dealing with an unknown species, probably the best thing, if they are a reptile or amphibian or something like that, what is the best case scenario that we're going to get to say that there's something in Champlain that's unknown? That's it. There's nothing to compare them to.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's not like beluga whales, which, I mean, we'd see them all the time. We know that they're there because they're social and they have to come up to breathe air. But dealing with an ancient species like this that I don't believe is in our known fossil record, what the heck are we going to compare it to? I mean, the best we're probably going to get is unknown reptile, unknown amphibian, or something like that.
Sure.
And the other thing too, it's like the preparation of the testing has to be done a certain way. And I think they kind of cheaped out, to be honest with you, on doing this because we only had like 3 samples versus like, I forget how many they took at Loch Ness. There was a lot. And Champlain is so much, yes, Champlain's so much larger. So I'm just reaching down for my charger cord so my computer doesn't crap out. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I have a plan though to do another eDNA testing situation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a TV show to help fund it because it's not like Joe Schmo can pay for this. Very expensive to do. And it has to be done right. And there's certain markers that I want them to test for that I'm not going to give it away because every time I say something, someone's trying to copy what the heck I do. It's so annoying. It's like, I can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
But then I feel bad.
You're so knowledgeable. You're so knowledgeable. You're like a giant kind of encyclopedia on this one topic. And so many different kind of perspectives on this as well. And so you would be the person that I would have do the DNA, the eDNA testing on it. Why would you go somewhere else, So we'll fund it. Just need someone to fund us so that we can fund you.
That would be awesome. But it's just such an extensive, there's so much to it that needs to be done correctly. And it's going to be something that's very costly. So I'm working on it now. I'm trying to make some connections and stuff like that. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but I think
we see that all the time, Katie Elizabeth, with especially in Australia with like the likes of the Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine.
Yes.
The little marsupial running around with his stripes down his tail. So many pieces of DNA that have been corrupted or lost or haven't been tested correctly, or all of these other forensic type words that they put in there for basically we screwed it up. We had it correctly.
That's it.
It's just horrendous because if you were to find some sort of evidence, you really want it to be looked after. All you have to do is look into the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch industry and watch how many pieces of evidence have simply disappeared or been
written off
or 100%. And I think when you're working in the cryptozoology field, because it is a pseudoscience in quotation marks, it's not seen as important. And in so many different ways, it is far more important than any study you'll ever do of something that we already know about.
Well, it's interesting because, there's some people that are into the conspiracy stuff, and I'm not necessarily into that, but it's really interesting because going to Loch Ness, I remember my friend Jim Boyd, who right now is in the hospital, and if everybody could say a prayer for him, Jim, he's in his 80s, so he's up there in age, but he's in ICU, so he's not doing his greatest. So I've been in kind of a really somber mood in the last few days about my friend Jim, because he had a sighting, Nessie sighting back in 1980, and it was great that I got that sighting on his testimony on camera for the documentary, because that's just the elders that have these sightings, these stories, that's lost once they're gone. And I just wanted to preserve that because he's a good friend of mine. And we had met at the cryptozoology conference in Maine at Lauren Coleman's museum up in Maine. And we met, oh God, how long ago was that? It had to be 2025, 23, probably 2016, something like that. It was quite a while ago. And we had met there. And he was like, hey, do you want to come to my house and see my cabinet of curiosities? He had like a mock-up Fiji mermaid. Yeah, he had like this Fiji mermaid in a cabinet and all this other crazy stuff. So it was really cool to like see his like extensive collection of cryptozoology stuff.
Katie Elizabeth, it's just like, how do you invite a cryptozoologist to your house? Hey, have I got a cabinet?
The cabinet. Yeah, the cabinet.
I'm getting on to right now. Oh my God. I don't know who you are, but you sound really cool. He's a great guy, Jim. So yeah, I mean, it was where the hell are we going with this story here? The conspiracy stuff. So what was really interesting, he said to me, he says, when you go to Loch Ness, make sure you keep an eye out for the bomber planes. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So he said at the same time every day that these military planes fly over Loch Ness really low to the water. Now I kind of looked it up, and it's supposed to be some sort of military exercise and all that stuff for the planes. But it was so funny because and now my friend Steve is also friends with Jim. They met each other at another cryptozoology conference in England many years ago. So we were there at Loch Ness, and all of a sudden here comes those damn planes, and I'm like, whoa, Jim was right. So I took a video of it. And what was interesting, last week at Champlain, we had the same thing happen of these planes going extra low to Lake Champlain. I'm like, maybe it's just military stuff, like general, but I've never really seen that before. So It makes you kind of wonder. It really does. It's weird.
It's like, are they trying to frighten it away? Are they trying to, the noise?
Well, that's what Jim thinks. Jim thinks that they're trying to keep them down, sort of thing. What's interesting, what's going on at Lake Champlain at the moment, they're putting in a power line from Canada to New York City, and they're putting it underneath, like within 4 inches on the bottom of Lake Champlain. So at first, when I heard about this, of course, I'm like, oh my God, how is like EMF going to affect these creatures or the fish that are in Lake Champlain, which is their food source? And, according to them, I've talked to some of the guys that are working on the project, and I've made some really good friends with some of the people on the project too. And they've been keeping their eye, because I got guys on barges now looking for Champ, which is kind of cool, and tugboats. And actually the captain of one of the tugboats is a lady, and she's like 4 foot tall. I'm 5'4". I'm short. She's shorter than me, and she's great. So it's great. I made friends with these guys, but with them being on the lake all the time, this year has been quite active, and I think it has to do with this activity going on with these barges being, because where my home port is in Port Henry, New York, where I keep Kelpie 3, they have the huge barges that are just like sitting there right at the marina. So it's really cool to talk to the guys that are on these barges, and like at first they'll joke around like, oh, you seen Champ lately, but then they're like, hey man, I've been keeping my eyes out and stuff, but it was interesting because on July 14th, I had gotten, it was actually a friend of mine who had a sighting in the 70s. This is so strange. And he had a sighting back in the day that was actually logged in Joseph Zarzinski's book about Champ. Now, Joseph Zarzinski used to do Champ research. And when I met Daryl Tucker, I had no idea he had a Champ sighting. We just happened to be fishing. Like my friend and I were fishing. He happened to know Daryl, and we started talking, and he's like, do you realize that I had a Champ sighting? And I I'm thinking this guy's full of crap, But then I happen to look in Joe's book and there's his name. And I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
So all these years later, his wife is walking on the beach at the Champ RV park, which is ironic. And she's walking her dog and she sees these black humps come to the surface of the water, and she pulled out her phone. She normally doesn't have her phone on her. She was actually listening to a podcast, so I had to mute the background because I don't know what the heck the podcast was. It was she was listening to that, and it was really amazing though, because she told him, he texted me and he's like, Vicky just saw a champs, whatever. He's like, you need to come down here in the morning, because it was evening. It was like around, she saw it around 6:30. I was like already in bed, and I woke up and just happened to see the message. So he goes, come down around 10, and that's when I got to see the video and stuff. And I had to blow it up because it's from a cell phone. It's a lot of people say, if there's stuff out there, how come people don't get on cell phones? Cell phones are crap. You can't get good resolution with it unless it's right in front of you. You're not going to get a good video. That's why I have my Nikon that's 85 plus zoom. I mean, I learned my lesson with having the sighting so damn far away that I didn't get on video.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I just have a couple of other comments that we should read through because these are awesome. This is from Lucille Brawl, aka Lacey, one of our founding members. Hey, girl, what up?
Hi, Lacey.
So she says, so this was a comment on when we were talking about these creatures coming in and out of the lakes. She says, I think they don't live in the loch all year. I think they definitely come in to spawn. She then said, Champlain isn't far from what was the central Pangaean Mountains. So it's not far-fetched to think that what lives in the Scottish lochs could also be in Champlain in modern form. Yeah.
That makes total sense, because when it was Pangea all together, I kind of have a feeling that some of these animals went this way and some went this way, and they just happened to spread out in all these different areas. That makes a lot of sense to me. Totally.
Yeah, I think so too. And her last comment is, it's a question, have you compared those samples that you took to the unknown species samples they found in Loch Ness to see if they have any matches? Have you done any connections like that from Lake Champlain?
With the audio sounds?
Maybe the audio sounds, or maybe the eDNA. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
Both?
The eDNA was quite different though with Loch Ness, because the biggest thing they got in Loch Ness was eel DNA. We didn't get anything now. Here's the thing: there are eels in Lake Champlain. There are otters. There are waterfowl. There are all kinds of things. Turtles, frogs. None of that showed up in the Lake Champlain DNA. So that shows you right there. It's bogus.
It wasn't. Yeah.
It's just it's not thorough.
And the thing is that they show you on TV, they're like, oh, we're just going to go down, grab a couple of samples, and then at the end of the program, you're going to find out. It's so much more involved than that. It's like you're saying, there's that preparation. You've got to go to the right places. The evidence and the stuff that you have needs to be stored properly. It needs to get from A to B. It's a whole process. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to get a couple of samples and chuck it off down at the lab.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what, and this is the problem with like a lot of these programs. They show the stuff and go, oh, it's just going to, we're just going to find it really easy. But it's not. It's like so many hours. It's like hundreds of hours of work that goes in, probably more than hundreds of hours, probably thousands of hours that goes into like doing the eDNA, gathering evidence, talking to people. It's a really long process, and so it'd be great. Definitely you doing doing a really good sample of eDNA from Lake Champlain. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting the right funding and getting the right preparation and future how do I put it? I'm trying to think of the right word. The future, just doing it the right way. There's a protocol that needs to be done, which was not done the last time. And I think the same thing, in Loch Ness, I think the big thing that they did that was kind of a mistake too, was they did it the wrong time of year. you got to think of the time of the peak sightings. If they're in there a certain time and then they're out, that DNA only lasts for so long.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder too about the Loch Ness eDNA test.
Yeah.
That Neil Gemmell did. It's interesting to find, so much eel DNA. Do I believe that we're dealing with a giant eel in Loch Ness? I really don't know. I don't think so.
Yep.
But with the on land sightings at Champlain and Loch Ness, I mean, there's a possibility. But with the sonar readings that I've gotten in 2019, and then in what year was it then? I got so much stuff that I get confused with years. 2022. Looking at the morphology of these creatures, they're very snake-like in origin, but they also have 4 feet and legs, and it's very reminiscent of, I would say, a water monitor, a Komodo dragon with a longer midsection and a much longer neck. So, I mean, that's just something that doesn't fit in our fossil record. I've looked at all types of ancient reptiles or amphibians, and I cannot find something that totally matches. So I think that we're dealing with something that's uniquely evolved, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because one of the theories is that it's a giant snake. Have you heard that theory?
Yes.
What do you say to that theory? I know you just kind of mentioned on that, but do you think there's evidence to show that it could be a giant snake?
Now, here's the thing that's interesting about Lake Champlain. There's been stories of other things in the lake, like giant turtles. Like there's one theory that these things could be giant turtles with a long neck. Now, if you're dealing with a giant turtle type of species, don't you think we'd find like the shells floating around or something? We'd find like,
and you would see them a lot more. You would see them a lot more. Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's interesting is I had gotten a report a few years back of a girl that was driving to work on across the bridge. She lived in Port Henry. She was driving to work on the Vermont side, and she went across this road where they call it the tubes because there's like these big drainage tubes that go under the road. And it was like around 4:30 in the morning, and she was coming home from work, and it was kind of misty that night. So she was going across this road, and she saw this big black thing in the road. She thought it was like a log across the road, so she stopped, and it was crawling across the road in this kind of squiggly vertical undulation. And she was, what the hell is that? She was, it looked like a giant snake to me, but it didn't move like a snake. And I'm like, did you see a head and neck? Did you see appendages? She's like, no, there was no feet. There was no head and neck, like no horse-like head. She just saw this thing like crawl, it reminded me of a giant eel. So it makes me wonder, a giant snake. But she said it didn't move like a snake. So it makes me wonder if we're dealing with some other strange thing that's in Champlain.
But it didn't move like a snake.
No, it moved in more like a vertical undulation, which is something that the champ animals can move in either direction, which is really bizarre. They have that. Mammals normally move in that vertical undulation, and then the reptiles, they have the horizontal. But it's funny because the champ animals, with the videos that I've gathered and captured myself, they can do both, which is really, really weird. But this thing, there was no head and neck. There was no appendages. Like, it was just totally different from the reports of Champ. And there was also another report. This was in one of the local newspapers, and it was in the 20s. And so someone was driving, I think it was a Model A or Model T, I'm not sure which. And they were going across Route 9N, which goes right around the lake. And they saw this big black thing crossing the road. It was supposedly a giant snake, and the guy supposedly killed it. Like I don't know, he took like a big sickle to it or something. And at Willoughby, there was a young man that also had found this big snake-like creature that he killed with with a sickle and stuff. So it's like, what the heck is going on? So I wonder, like, if we're dealing with more than one thing, maybe the younger ones look different, morphologically speaking, and they developed it. I don't know. I think
are they snakes or are they eels that they seem, because eels are known to go across land. Like if it's damp, they're known to
Yes.
go from one river to another river. So they will,
Yes.
so they have been found, like in New Zealand, they've been found in the middle of the bush, and people are going, what is this eel
Yeah.
doing? It's going somewhere else, like going onto the breeding grounds or, that kind of stuff. So is it some type of eel type creature as well? Not necessarily a snake, because I mean, they look the same, but if people haven't really had a lot of, they probably know a snake more than they would know an eel. You know what I
An
mean?
eel, yeah.
Especially if they're not water people. They're like, oh my God, it's a snake.
But it's this versus
yeah,
this,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That
So
is
it's some
so,
kind
so
of,
odd.
yeah, that's really interesting.
Well, it's really weird because I have found some interesting cut throughs in the swamp. Um, we do have beavers and otters and stuff, so they make trails, and you got a lot of game trails that go through. But I found some really large webbed footprints, and I've heard people say, "Oh, maybe it's beaver," but I'm telling you, it's a lot bigger than that. And with the webbed footprints and with the sonar that I had gotten in 2019 of that one particular animal where you can actually see most of it. The other one's kind of blurry, but laying on the bottom, it looks like a clawed webbed foot. So there was also another sighting many years ago over near Otter Creek, where the creek is right next to the bay, one of the bays in Lake Champlain. There's like over 300,000 acres of swamp around Lake Champlain. So there's so much swamp that these animals can hide in and feed at night. Um, with that sighting, there was a guy driving down that road. It's a private road, and he had saw this large black thing run across the road. And the next day, at the time, it was kind of a sandy road. Now it's more like gravelly. So you really can't get any good prints, which sucks. Because, maybe I should spread some sand over there. Someone's going to get stuck and then I'll get in trouble.
Trying to sand all on the beach.
And so he had that sighting there of it moving out of the bay into the creek. And now you think of creek, you think it's just a little river. I mean, it's pretty wide and it's pretty damn deep. But there was web footprints found there. So, with this eel type creature, snake type creature, and the champ animals, I think whatever is going on, they're totally different. And it's weird. But
definitely dealing with a couple of different species, right? Then you can't just lump them all into the same and say they're all the same thing.
Yeah. And what's really bizarre too, I mean, if you think about it, with Champlain, you have so many primordial animals that are in there. You got the sturgeon, which get to 7 feet, which is, oh yeah, everybody says, oh, Champ's
sturgeon.
Yeah. Well, I made up a song. My friend and I made up a song a long time ago. It's the Madonna song, like a virgin, but it's like a sturgeon.
Because it's always a sturgeon. It's always just a sturgeon. It's like finding a panther in the outback of Australia. Oh, it's just a feral cat. A feral residential cat that you've just mistaken as a giant fuck off tiger. But don't worry, you just got it wrong.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's sturgeon in the lake. They're endangered, so there's not that many of them. They don't move in vertical undulation. They're not blackish brown in color. It doesn't make any damn sense to me when people. I'm sure there are sightings of sturgeons that people do that don't, because they are freaky looking. But there's a big difference between the videos that I've gotten from people, the videos I've captured. There's just a total difference in the coloring, the morphology, the movement. It's just totally different. So you have the sturgeon, which go back millions of years. You have the gar, short-nosed gar, and they get up to like 4 feet in length, and they're massive. And I've caught gar. I'm a fisherman too. I always go fishing. So I've caught gar. I've caught bowfin. They go back also 100 million years. You have the lamprey, which are an ancient eel-like creature with a round mouth. I don't know if you've ever seen a lamprey, but they're really nasty looking. They will attach onto fish and just suck the juices out of the fish. I know the ones you mean.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Ooh, so we have them. We have those. And then we also have an interesting type of turtle, the eastern spiny softshell turtle, which are totally endangered in Lake Champlain. And they're doing a thing at the aquarium there where they're trying to bring back the species, which I think is a great great thing. So you've got these primordial species that are in Champlain that are still there after hundreds and thousands of years. Why is it possible for something that's 15 to 35 feet long to be in Champlain still? And you know, the misconception of being this 100-foot long monster eating people, that's just a bunch of crap. It's just people make this up, and this is why it makes it so non-believable to people.
Yeah, that's what kills the credibility of when people do actually find evidence. And you know, it's the same problem like within the cryptozoology field, isn't it? When you actually find evidence, it is completely just like no, it's just like, oh, it's a big joke, you know. And now it's even harder with all the AI stuff, you know, and AI pictures.
Oh God,
it just makes everything, you know, 100 times worse now of trying to get that credibility through the system to be, hey, this is actually real, this is not, you know.
I mean, you see the same thing in the archaeology field as well, right? As soon as, or the paleontology field for that matter, all of a sudden, as soon as you have a different theory and you have proof to show that, you get totally shut down because you're going against what the perception is, or the mainstream narrative, or what they, you know, what the newspapers are pushing out. So it's a hard road to run, aren't you?
It is tough. It's really tough. You know, as far as like the echolocation recordings, which I had verified by a marine biologist in Australia named Cindy Jolie, that was really amazing to get someone, you know, that far across the globe to verify that, you know, what I'm getting is legitimate. And I always try to back everything up by science and not just, there's so much woo going on in the crypto field, especially with Bigfoot, people making up stuff. I mean, there's a guy that had, this is insane. All right. So he had made a movie and a book. And so to promote that movie and that book, he made up this whole drone footage saying that, oh, we basically got Champ on drone footage. Do you know what it actually was? I went to the location because I know by looking at the video, it's a very short clip. I went to the spot and I lined everything up, and I have this on video and I'm going to have to post it. But going there, it's a damn rock. It's like, give me a damn break. So like, I named the rock after him. I'm not going to say the name, but I named the rock after him. It's like Champ is like a rock. Oh, it's just crazy what people will do to promote something. And you know, I work really hard at what I do, and I try to use the science to back everything up. And the protection aspect of these animals and the lake is so important to me, and that's why I do what I do. But you got nod heads like this that just show up out of out of nowhere.
We were discussing earlier on, but we shall not mention those names except on Dungeon Talk.
And that is on cryptidwomensociety.com, and all you have to do is get yourself a membership as a truth seeker, and you can join us in our R18 Dungeon Talk.
It's just amazing. It amazes me where these people come from. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff I've been through. It's like if you don't tell them certain locations, or you don't give them your evidence for nothing. I mean, it costs me a lot of money to do what I do. If you don't help them out to like where they're making $1 million, they think they're gonna make $1 million at this stuff, and it's like, you have any freaking idea how much this has cost me? I've got a boat, I've got sonar, I've got all of this equipment, and they think I'm like a millionaire. And I'm like, well, hell with it. Let them think it. Let them think it. That's fine. You know,
it's taken you years to build that up. You know, it's not like it's happened overnight. This has literally been like, you know, this is your lifelong work that is still ongoing, you know, and it's still, you know, we know the saying. It's like there's, you know, people think, oh, cryptozoology. There's no money in cryptozoology.
No, there isn't.
There isn't, you know.
And they come up with these like crazy things like, I'm gonna sell like 5 million t-shirts with Champ on it. I'm gonna make all this money. And then they're like asking me, where do you get your merchandise? Where do you get this? And then after I don't tell them certain things and they trash me, it's like, what the hell? And then, you know, oh, I'm gonna put you out of business. That was another one I got from somebody. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Anything that I make from books or I sell Champ t-shirts, it goes right to my boat. And you guys know how expensive boats are. So I mean, the people that come out of the woodwork that are nasty, you wouldn't believe like the clowns that I've had to deal with. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I tell you what, like we've heard that a lot. Sorry, Jules, we've heard that a lot in the paranormal industry as well, you know, with some of our members talking about the shade that's been thrown in their direction, which is just ridiculous because there's quite enough blue water, excuse the pun, for everyone in it, you know, and we should just be supporting people that are really kind of diving head first and doing so much stuff out of their own pocket and their own time, you know, like so many hours have gone into it. Sorry, Jules, go ahead.
I'm just saying it's like people feel that they're entitled because now they've suddenly gone, oh, I want to look after Lake Champ, so you've done all the work, now give me your information. So, you know, and it's like it's not how it works, you know. It is, and you know, like Lisa was saying, you know, there is this part of the cryptozoology and the paranormal industry, and you know, and women are involved in a lot of it too, of this nastiness of, you know, putting each other down, from everything from, oh, this person has been doing a documentary but she's wearing makeup. You're like, what the F does that have to do with the documentary? Why are you choosing that to basically target this woman? Or, you know, and that's it. It's something that we really want to stamp out. And you know, we're all for like not only supporting women but supporting everybody in the industry. You know, if they've got a really good attitude, you know, we've got some great guys that follow us, and you know, we get a lot of support from them, and we support, you know, them give it back. But yeah, there's got to be a change, as you know. So you're frozen a bit there.
Lady Elizabeth, you're cold, you're chilly, you're frozen like a robot.
It's like it started lightning and thundering outside, so I had to come in. I was on my back deck.
So she's coming in. Hey, I have a question for you, Katie Elizabeth.
Sure.
We talked about kind of, you've touched on your evidence and the sonar work and that the hydrophone and the things that you use. Maybe you could break down one of your biggest pieces of evidence, like the 2022 sonar footage, or one of those pieces that you go, that was a real kicker, and just kind of give us a bit of an idea of kind of how that worked, what was involved, and what was the outcome for some of our members that kind of are new to it, or some of our listeners that don't really understand.
Okay, so which one you want to touch
whichever one
base
you
on,
think is the most
video?
kind of impactful. What's your biggest
impactful evidence that you've found?
I would say, I mean, I've got some really cool stuff, you know, the video, the echolocation stuff. I think, I don't know, I'm tossed up between the 2022 sonar video, which was like a live video.
Massive, right?
And
I remember when that came out, I was like, Juliet, Katie Elizabeth has found something.
It was great. And at first, you know, it's so funny because I've heard people say, oh, it's a sturgeon. But if you slow it down, you can see the neck retracting and going back. It's like, what the hell? It's not, that's something a sturgeon cannot do. And also sturgeon, they have these paddle like flippers and they go side to side. They kind of swim funny. And this is moving in that strange kind of vertical undulation as well, with the neck contracting out and coming in. So I think that was really amazing to get, because I had gotten that live sonar and I was hoping, like, if I could get, which I named them in 2019, I named them Puff and Elsie, the pair that I got on the sonar, as if I could get
Magic Dragon. Well, she's frozen again, so we're going to name him Puff the Magic Dragon. If anybody grew up in New Zealand, you'll remember the television show, the little cartoon about Puff the Magic Dragon and all of his friends. He did some troublemaking things, and there was a lot of hallucinogenics. Can't hear you because you're frozen, so I just went off.
Oh no! I think what's going on is the thunderstorm that's coming through.
Yeah, happens to us too. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say it's kind of a toss up between the 2019, actually 2022 sonar and the last echolocation that I got last September.
So can you tell
That
us about echolocation? Like, how does that work? Because I know these words, I know the terms, but I really have kind of no really good understanding of what the technology is and how does it work. You go out on a boat and you drop it into the water. Wow.
Okay, so Kelpie 2, I was using it. I got a new boat now, Kelpie 3, but Kelpie 2, I have a transducer at the back which shoots down this beam. Okay, it's basically a beam of sound, and when it hits a school of fish or an object, it bounces back and produces an image. So animals that can echolocate like the champ animals or whale or dolphin, which is cetaceans, they put out a beam of sound. They hit said object, say it's a school of fish or a rock or whatever, and it'll bounce back. And they don't need vision to see what's going on in front of them. It bounces back and produces a image of their brain. So they know exactly what's in front of them without vision, which is amazing. So sonar on a boat is basically not animal created like the echolocation that these animals give off. It's basically mechanically created. So we have an image of what's going on underneath the boat. There's several types of sonar. There's side scan, which shoots out on both sides. I'm not a huge fan of that because in 2019, they were right underneath the boat. So I would have missed that if I didn't have that certain cone of sound, that sonar going down. I would have totally missed it because they weren't on each side. They weren't directly underneath.
Wow.
So I kind of like using the chirp sonar, which has that ability to shoot straight down and out in a cone. So that's the difference with the sonar types. There are quite a few types. So basically that's how it's created mechanically, by putting the sound down, and it produces that image that is on your screen.
Far out. I love it when you get scientific. Really do.
And there's a lot to it, you know. I mean, with big shoals of fish, it can produce an image that looks like something, but you can tell where it's broken up. That, okay, we're looking at a school of fish. You'll have something called bait balls, like balls of bait fish that are moving through the water. That could be kind of convincing to someone that doesn't know what they're looking at when they're looking at sonar. So I try to rule out all of that by doing comparisons. It's like with the 2014 video that I got, comparing that to waves and boat wakes and logs floating in the water and all of that stuff, schools of fish jumping. All of that is so important to show comparisons that way, because some people, they just don't have that experience on the water, and you really have to have an eye for this stuff and practicing as well.
That's so interesting, because last week we spoke to a wonderful lady called Tamara. She's actually a doctor, and she works in the space industry. To give the shortened version, and we were talking about how our eyes only take a very, very small kind of snap rate, or shutter rate. And so we always used to talk about how you should be able to see this stuff and you should be able to trust what your eyes are seeing. But you're absolutely right in that if you're not familiar with the way that the water moves, with the types of animals, especially if you then start looking at sonar and that sort of stuff, you can totally get sucked into thinking it's something different. And that was one of my questions, is like, what should we be really looking for? Like when you're looking through these types of evidence and you come across someone like yourself as a viewer or whatever, you come across your evidence and your research, what should someone like me really be looking for? Those sort of comparisons that you've done between your evidence and what could be in the water?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to kind of do comparisons as well. So looking at basically with the sonar, looking at imagery, just Google it. It's a lot of people, they'll ask me like, well, how do I use this piece of equipment? How do I use that? It's like, just Google it, you know. They're so lazy. They're so lazy when it's like, it's not that freaking hard, but it takes experience and time to learn the differences But you know, you can start out with Googling things, you know, going online, typing in a school of fish on a fish finder. What does it look like? And look through various images. You could do comparisons and stuff like that. So it's just using that, which I call the book knowledge, plus using the field research knowledge, being out there and actually going fishing, seeing what schools of fish look like, and doing comparisons, comparing the sounds of known fish in these lakes and lochs compared to echolocation, which is a totally different signature. And doing all the comparisons is so important because we're dealing with so many species of fish that make sounds, schools of fish that could look like something serpentine, but not quite solid. With the 2019 images, you look at the difference between the school of fish kind of swirling around, and you look at how solid that these two serpentine things are. There's a big difference. And then the video, I thought the video was great because it's like it's showing the movement and the solidity of what you're actually looking at. You know, you're dealing with a school of fish on the video, it's going to be spreaded out and kind of fluttering and stuff like that, and you don't see that in that video.
No.
So
Yeah,
doing
I
the
thought that was
comparisons is
amazing.
like super. Thank you. It was a big
we love
surprise.
this. Oh yeah, I bet it was, because I was surprised when I saw it. I was like, holy moly, like this is amazing, because it's so clear. It's so, like, from a sonar perspective, but it's so clear and so solid. Exactly what you're saying. It's incredibly solid and very difficult to debunk, or very difficult to say, oh, it must just be a log, or it must just be, which I've heard a couple of times, it must just be a school of fish. And I don't think it's comparable in the least.
No.
Far more than me. And I mean, people might say, well, Katie Elizabeth is biased because she's involved in it so much. And she's desperate to find it, or whatever. And that's, I guess, to a point, we all kind of get like that sometimes. We can all get carried away into that space of, I just want to find a ghost, or I just want to get a photo of this, or I just want to do that. So that brings me to my next question: is how do you control that kind of skepticism with that want to prove it real?
Holding my integrity into place, because I don't want to be one of these fruitcakes that you see in the Bigfoot world that sees Bigfoot in every tree. I see it all the time, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be logical, and using science behind it. Yeah, it's like, oh, Bigfoot's over here. Oh, he's across the street from the Mexican restaurant that I've heard that there's a guy in line.
Photo, and they go, he's there in the middle, and you're like looking at this thing going like, yep.
Where? What the hell are you looking at? Yeah, no, I see this all the freaking time. I don't want to be that fruitcake of a person. I just don't want to be.
Yeah.
And I try to hold my, not that I believe that they're in Champlain or these other lakes, especially Champlain. I know that they're there. There's a difference between a knower and being a believer, but I have to keep the skeptical side too, with the science in the background as well. Because I mean, there's so many nut jobs, hate to say it, but there's a lot of nut jobs out there that are really screwing up the field of cryptozoology.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing like Bigfoot like in every picture. It's just, I don't want to be
bunch
that
of men
person.
in suits.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh yeah, we know all about those posts. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them. It's like, oh yeah, I just got this Bigfoot that came to visit me, and it's like, what the hell? It's like, it's a costume. It's like, come on now.
But you also had a drone showing that Champ was just over there that looks like a rock, but he's not a rock, okay? He's not a rock.
It was so hilarious. It was so hilarious when I went up and found this location. I knew exactly by pausing the video where it was. And I said, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty damn sure that there's a rock there. And sure enough, I get the video of the rock. It's just this big blob, and it's like, oh, it's moving. Well, it's moving because the freaking drone's moving. You've got the clouds in the sky
coming
moving. You've got that light refraction, So this is,
funny.
you know, this is the type of stuff. And, you know, this person had the audacity to put me as a villain in the story and in the movie and all this crap. It's just absolutely insane. There's a lot to it. We'll talk about another time.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
So
But yeah, when I found out it was a rock, I'm like, I knew exactly when I saw the video. I'm like, oh, this is just a marketing technique for this, you know, and you run into that. That's a big thing in some of the Bigfoot stuff as well.
Yeah. So
everybody's screaming. There's a Bigfoot behind them.
Let's go.
Yeah. I know how they're playing the game. I'm not an idiot, so we know what's going on.
So what's your view on the lake monsters being a plesiosaur? Whereas some of these, you know, pictures and sonar stuff is kind of showing like this giant like creature with like flippers, you know, this kind of stuff, you know, that's do you think it's possibly, you know, have all the Lake Champlain sightings that have been seen, have they always had legs or have they had flippers as well?
Well, there's kind of a controversy with that because a lot of the sightings have been in the water, so it's kind of hard to tell what's underneath the surface of the water as far as appendages go. But with the on land sightings, I think if we were dealing with plesiosaur with these giant flippers, it'd be like it would be kind of tough because I don't think they move with such great speed. I mean, you look at walruses and seals and sea turtles. They're kind of just
giant, like
they're just kind of flopping around. Yeah, they're flopping around, and they're not. You know, you watch an alligator or a crocodile, and you watch them run. They can freaking run.
Oh, they can run.
And turtles can run very, very. And I always hate when they say slow as a turtle. It's like, where the hell is there a turtle that's slow? Like every time I watch turtles, and I grew up on the water. I mean, they're on a log, and like as soon as they hear you, like a pin drop, they're gone. And they can run so fast. There's down here in Florida, there's gopher tortoises, and they always say slow as a tortoise. That's crap too, because I've like these guys are in the middle of the road. I'm like, oh my God, there's a car coming. So I'm like stopping the car and I go to pick them up and they're running from me and they can run pretty damn fast. So I don't know where they got that slow as a turtle, slow as a tortoise. That's another myth to me.
Yeah. There's so many perceptions like that.
Yeah. So you don't believe that whole kind of it's a plesiosaur or some kind of.
I mean, the horse lake head is quite differently shaped than a plesiosaur. The flippers of a plesiosaur don't match with the four-toed webbed footprints. The sonar images that I've gotten, it doesn't seem to match with that because you can see in that 2022 sonar video of like that appendage pushing back, it's not this giant flipper. They would be more like when you watch a penguin swim underwater, that would be like a plesiosaur. To me, morphologically speaking. If they're, I mean, I'm sure they are somehow in relation, being an ancient ectothermic, either reptile or amphibian or something like that. But to say that they're a plesiosaur, I don't believe that they are. But there are a lot of
the number one thing, isn't it? That's what they reckon. They reckon that the Loch Ness monster and stuff like that is a plesiosaur, and
it's kind of like that the romantic image, you know.
Yeah. So on that thing, do you think they are becoming extinct now? You know, because these creatures are, you know, there has to be obviously this breeding population, but they're being seen less and less kind of over the years. So do you believe that that population is slowly kind of dwindling out now?
I think that especially in Champlain, I think that it's been going down, but the sightings are still sustaining. Nothing really seems to bother these animals. I mean, you've got sewage that's getting into Lake Champlain every year. Loch Ness is coming into a problem where they're having I'm trying to think what's going on there. There's some kind of like fish farming going on and some other like hydroelectric stuff going on there that's happening. It really makes me worried for both, you know, the loch and the lake, of what's going on with human interaction. Do I think that they're almost extinct? I don't think so, but I think that it's definitely a threat. I think they are endangered because they're obviously not in every lake around the world. So the sightings don't seem to be as much as it was, say, 1930s at Loch Ness or the 1800s. I think when they were putting the road in at Loch Ness during that time, there was a ton of sightings. You had more people around the loch, and also there's a lot of noise going on too. And with being a animal that echolocates, their high sensitivity of hearing, comes into play. I mean, you hear stories of people seeing, say, Nessie sunbathing on the beach, and they slam their car door and they go running off into the water. Same thing with Champ. So with all of that crazy interaction, what's going on now at Champlain with putting the power cables under Champlain, with the barges hanging out, with all this activity going on, it seems to be stirring them up, which might be actually a good thing for proving that they're there.
You're probably kind of, this is part of their territory, and they're like, we can't actually get here now, or or there's bombers flying over the top. So there we go.
There's a lot going on. There's been military planes going over the lake. There's barges, there's tugboats. They're putting that line under the water. They're also putting in huge ROVs, which I have an ROV that goes down to 350 feet, but it's not that big. It's probably about 2.5 feet wide by 2.5 feet wide. But these ROVs are like the big, massive ones, like when they sent them down to the Titanic. These are like giant ROVs that they're putting down to make sure that they're putting this power line in the right place and they're doing it the correct way. So there's a lot going on. There's probably a lot of noise to them, and it just seems like the sightings have been pouring in this year. So my friends Vicky and Daryl had a sighting July 14th. There was a woman that had a sighting at the end of March of this year, which is quite early, but there wasn't anybody around the lake or anything like that. And there was a salmon run, which is interesting. That happens at Loch Ness too. When the salmon are running, there seems to be of abundance of sightings. And there was another report. I'm going to get more details, but the marina where I have Kelpie 3 now, there's a little cafe, and there's a guy that I had met briefly, just like a couple times, like, how you doing, sort of thing. And he actually sent me a message yesterday, and he's like, we saw something really strange from the cafe a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, what? And it was right in the mooring field of the marina, and they saw something swimming, and the girl that runs the restaurant was like, what the hell is that out there? So now they're convinced that there's definitely something. You know, people meet me and they'll think, oh, she's absolutely insane, until they see something for themselves, and then they apologize. They apologize to me. They're like, I'm really sorry. So I'm going to get some more details on that sighting. And then there was someone further down the lake near the bridge that goes to Vermont that had a sighting around the same time. So there's been a lot of activity, and I think it has to do with the power line that's being put in.
And they're the best people to get the witness accounts from, because, you know, they're sitting there, they're working, they're looking out at that water on a daily basis. They understand, oh, there's a turtle, or there goes the wake from a boat, here's a log. You know, they understand that. And for them to suddenly go, what the feck is out? I don't understand what that is. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, and then they're suddenly like going, oh, okay, maybe there is something, you know. So it's good to kind of get the skeptics to be like, yeah, I kind of saw something. I still don't want to believe it though, but I saw something.
No, I love those reports the most. And you know, with the new documentary coming out, I'm going to try to get it out by December. We'll see what happens. I'm the editor. I'm the one that does the music. I'm the one that does all of this crazy stuff. So it's not like I have a crew. You know, you see documentaries that have a whole crew of people.
Yeah. Can we do a premiere? Can we do a premiere in New Zealand and Australia?
That would be amazing.
Can we put it in a cinema?
That would be amazing. I would love that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
That would be so much fun. That would be great. Because I'm actually working on 3 different documentaries at the same time. I'm working on, the first one is Expedition Scotland, the search at Loch Ness and Loch Morar. That one's going to be the first one out. Then I'm working on Lady of the Lake, the search for Champ. And then I'm working on a UFO documentary. So it's like,
I was going to mention that there are a lot of UFO sightings around Lake Champlain. and
Oh,
abductions, and it's like it's
okay,
crazy,
fill
the
me in.
activity.
I didn't know. Fill me in.
Yeah, there's been a couple of really big abduction cases over Lake Champlain. So it's really interesting, that whole side of it, that, there's paranormal stuff there. There's like
And Bigfoot.
lake monsters, there's Bigfoot, there's UFO encounters, there's missing persons, it's and airplanes, airplanes, missing, all that kind of stuff. So there's a whole different side to Lake Champlain, not just, like the
This is, my brain has just blown because now I'm like, oh, conspiracy hat,
yeah,
military airplanes, and
Get the
UFOs.
tin,
that's what
get
I
the
meant.
tin foil out.
When you were talking about the military planes going over, I'm like, are they there for the lake monster, or are they there for more UFO activity?
All right, Katie Elizabeth, you've got to fill us in on the UFO stuff just a little bit, just a wee touch on the touchy touch.
Okay, so about the UFO documentary.
Whatever you want to talk
Okay.
about. I have no idea. I didn't know that this was even part of it, and I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a separate documentary, but I am going to include some info about a well-known abduction that happened at Lake Champlain. It was up near in Colchester, Vermont. And I actually managed to get in touch with the landowner where it happened when it was a camp. So I think I'm going to interview her next time I come up to do my research, which is in a couple weeks. So I'm like doing all these crazy things at once, trying to interview champ eyewitnesses, this lady that owns the land where this abduction had happened. It was before she had bought the property, but it was a couple of teenagers that were on the lake. They seen a UFO coming out of Champlain. They had experienced some lost time. Yeah, and then basically just came to, and they're sitting on the dock, and these people were coming in from I believe it was a kayaking, or I think it was kayaking trip, a race type of thing, and they had come in, and they're like, what happened to like the couple of hours?
Yeah.
And all they remembered was this, this thing coming out of the lake, this light coming out of the lake. So that's an interesting, I think it was oh God, what was it? Bluff. Let me look in my, it's so funny. I have to look in my own book to look
coming out of the lake changes thing, right? Because then you're talking about potential craft coming out of a lake that is now being swished up by those barges and that electrical line going down. So is there going to be a wee bit of interstellar conflict?
Well, yeah, you kind of wonder, and the thing is, right now that electrical line that they're putting is not active yet, so I'm kind of wondering what the hell is going to happen when that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if they start coming up and beaching themselves, then my search is over. We've already proved that they're there. That's the only good part. And then imagine what it would cost them to yank that whole freaking power line out of the lake because they're dealing with an endangered species. Oh my God, it's crazy. And it sounds like some crazy movie, but you never know. The world's crazy anyway.
Yeah, there's also like another case where there were a couple, and they were driving around Lake Champlain, and they were aggressively chased by UFO, like terrifying encounter.
Yes.
There is like, it's not just one abduction case. There are other cases.
Okay, I'll do some research.
Yeah,
I haven't researched this at all. You've just blown my mind.
Yeah, Buff Ledge is the name of it, and that was over near Colchester, Vermont. I had to look. I'm thinking Bluff Cliff because of Bluff Creek. So I'm like, I have to look up the name because I was Buff Ledge. That's it.
Tricky to say as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh wow, that's fantastic, man! You got your fingers in pies, girl.
Well, yeah, my husband actually, him and I, we had taken a trip out to Nevada to not necessarily right at Area 51, but around that area. And that's what the other documentary that we're doing is called Mission UFO. And we've interviewed all kinds of alien abduction cases and gone out there and interviewed people out there as well. And I think the coolest part about being out there is, well, I like going to Las Vegas and going to the casinos, but I don't really gamble because I can't afford to do that because it costs me so much to do these expeditions. But it's really cool to go out to the desert and see these petroglyphs that the Native Americans have on the rocks, and to see some of the really strange petroglyphs that really look alien in nature.
Yep.
So I've talked to some Native Americans that have background in knowing about petroglyphs and stuff like that, and that's going to be featured in Mission UFO, that documentary. So we've got so much stuff coming out, and I need to. It's hard because I'm doing all this field research, but by October, that's going to be done for a while. Then I have the whole winter time to do all of these things. But the expedition Scotland, the search at Loch Ness and Morar will be out first. So we'll start with that one and we'll work on the others.
And that is so exciting. Yeah, so exciting. If we can get your premiere in New Zealand and Australia, and you know, Juliet and I are pretty amazing at conjuring stuff up. You know,
I would absolutely love that. That would be so much fun because I mean, I have to come and visit you guys sometime. It's going to be a long it's going to be a long plane ride, but that's okay. It'll be totally worth it.
Like, you know, what is it for us to get to the States? Like I went to Egypt last year and that was like nearly 26 hours of traveling, going through 2 different airports, and oh my God.
We are at the arse end of the world and would like to apologize for that. But once you're here,
it's worth it.
It's worth it.
That's great. But yeah, I would love to definitely do something like that for the premiere of the documentary on our Scottish trip. I mean, it was really cool, and luckily I have a very exotic palate when it comes to eating. So the haggis and all of that, I liked it. I liked the black pudding. I liked the haggis. It was a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff, but I'm pretty.
I'll go out and try stuff as well, and like the same thing. I've done the haggis and all that. You know, like back in New Zealand, like we would eat like emu, ostrich. You know, I was brought up hunting and fishing, and generally when we go overseas, we do like to try, you know, kind of the most random stuff. But we had crickets and all that kind of stuff. But
I won't eat tarantulas.
As I'm getting older, my palate's like, I don't think I can eat that. Just don't think I can put that in my mouth right now.
You know, because in Indonesia they'll do like tarantulas and scorpions and all sorts of different things like that. And I took my son through Thailand and Cambodia and Vietnam.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. He was homeschooled for a couple of years when he was kind of about 11, 12. And I was like, right, part of your homeschooling, we're going to go over and go to Angkor Wat and go and see all these amazing places and just culture him a little bit so he doesn't turn into a right little toad, you know, and he has a bit of appreciation for the rest of the world, you know. And one of the funniest things was we were like, we're going to eat a tarantula, it'll be great, or, you know, we're going to eat a scorpion, and we never did that. But the one thing that I made him do, and I know this is totally off topic, but I love it. The one thing I made him do is we sat down one of the little side streets in, I think we were in Vietnam at the time. We're like, oh, and we'll just, you know, eat from one of the side vendors, you know, little cafes and whatnot. And there was this really quite well-aged woman. I would say she would be in her 90s, if not a bit older than that. She was very, very weathered. She looked like a corpse that was smiling at me, no teeth. And I was like, hello. And she was like, oh, come here. So we went and sat down next to her at her table, and she's speaking in Vietnamese. She couldn't speak in English very well, and she's going, here, delicacy. And she gives my son, who was about 11 or 12 at the time, this egg, right? It was just like a normal chicken's egg.
Oh no,
it's a delicacy. It's wonderful.
I know what it is. It's Baloo.
Yeah. And
Baloo it's called.
I don't know what it's called, but it's bad, very bad. And she thought it was freaking hilarious because he peeled it all and it came out black and white. They're going, it's chocolate, it's dessert. And so he being the beautiful Samoan child he is, and will basically eat anything, bit straight into this black egg. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think that's right.
Oh my gosh.
And he bit into it, and it was just black goo that came out of it. And he was like,
oh.
And this woman in her 90s, the corpse lady, was just like, yeah,
Oh, yep.
Was absolutely hilarious. He was not happy. He was not impressed at all. So
I think that's the same thing that I've heard of, where it's like the whole embryo of the chickens in
Yeah,
there,
it's
and
like
it's
baby
like,
ducks. It's
oh, I
baby
it
can't
was
do it. I
so
can't. That's something I
funny.
couldn't do unless
Yeah,
I was like dying of starvation, maybe. But I don't even think.
even then, I don't think so. But it was great, and I feel like that's possibly the reason why I had a child on that one moment for my entertainment.
fear factor going on there. Let's try this one.
He'll never forget that experience as long as he lives, I'm
No,
sure.
yeah, and he'll probably blame it on me forever.
Uh,
We had some really crazy experiences in Cambodia though at Angkor Wat, and it was pretty amazing. And like, if we can get you down to Australia or New Zealand, there's so many amazing places, amazing like megalithic sites and other weird stuff that happens down here. And we will take you on a trip. It'll be
That
fun.
would be
we'll do another
amazing. I would.
documentary. We've got a couple going as well. So
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I can't wait to see like your stuff come out. And I mean,
For
any
sure.
way I can help promote those, I mean, that would be great too. Well, let's try to like work together and see what we can do for each other. And I think that would be
absolutely would
amazing.
love that. Yes.
There will
Because
be
there's not enough,
something.
there's not enough of that in the crypto world. Everybody's out for themselves. So I think one hand washes the other is always a great thing.
Yeah. Well, that's why we started Crypto Women's Society, was for women like you and women that follow you and women that kind of are sitting on the fringes of this sort of space going, how do I get into that? Or what do I do? Or help me to understand. And that's why I love the fact that you've really kind of broken things down for us today and really kind of introduced us to the basics of what it's like to be on the water searching for a semi-extinct species or something that isn't meant to be there. And it's so mysterious and so exciting to be a part of it, even on the outside in New Zealand and Australia, where we can kind of look in and go, what are you doing over there in America?
It's a lot of fun to like, take the live videos and just keep everybody in the loop of what's going on. And I want people, especially women that are afraid to break out of the shell and that are shy and stuff. When I was a kid, I was extremely shy, but boy, has that changed. I mean, it really has changed because this is my passion and what I love to do. And if it helps with getting the awareness of, we don't know everything on this planet. I think this is so important to teach kids too, that don't be afraid of ridicule. Just get out there and just do your thing. If it makes you happy, who the hell cares what anybody else thinks? And that's the biggest thing. And that's how we make discoveries. I mean, we don't make discoveries sitting on our butts all the time. There are so many discoveries that are out there. I mean, like, look at Arthur C. Clarke. He was one of the people that I looked up to with inventing the communication satellite. And he was so into the lake creatures and Bigfoot and all of the unknown.
Oh, she's gone. There's that damn thunder and lightning again.
Wonder if she's got a hurricane above her.
Yeah, I could hear the thunder before. I was like, ooh.
Oh my goodness. So also, I'm sure Katie's going to
with
come
his
back shortly. Oh, there she is.
Oh, I think there we go.
Sorry, just cut out there, just as you were.
It's just this horrible weather. We got a thunderstorm going over.
Yeah, it normally happens to me. Same thing happens here. As soon as you've got any bad weather, that's it. My internet is just shocking.
It's crazy.
Yeah, us too. So do you have any advice for women, like maybe some of our members or some women that are watching that really want to kind of get into research or really have like this kind of drawing to doing something like what you're doing? Do you have any advice for them to get started? What would you tell them?
To get started, basically, doing the armchair research first, and in combination with the field research. Probably the biggest thing for me is, and my favorite obviously, is getting out and doing the field research. But some people, it's really hard to do because it's really expensive to do. It's time consuming if you have a regular 9-to-5 job. But doing the online research, getting as many books as you can about the subjects, and going out and observing nature. just observing nature. And, you know, not only do I do the hydrophone recordings in Champlain, I do them in the ocean and other lakes that don't necessarily have anything, to do the comparisons, you know, to do the comparisons with, say, beluga whale recordings, manatee recordings down here in Florida, just going out and getting all of this data and doing comparisons. Just general knowledge of nature is so important. And then using the reading the books and doing all the research online as well. That's basically it. I mean, it's just really getting out there and being in nature, just learning different techniques with that sort of thing. If you don't know what to use for equipment, or you can't afford the certain pieces of equipment, then you can learn how to make it. I mean, there's all different avenues. You can buy it used. I mean, there's a lot. When I started out, I had built an underwater camera with a PVC pipe. Like, you know, I figured out the craziest stuff, like trying to, yeah, like I put together this like PVC pipe. I got all the stuff at Home Depot, and I got this camera and I put it in there and sealed it up with JB Weld. And that was my first underwater camera.
Awesome.
And then now, you know, fortunately we have eBay and you get stuff used, so you can look in the line for fish cameras and stuff like that. There's always, if there's a will, there's a way. And it's kind of like being MacGyver, like go online and just Google it.
Yeah.
Go on
And you don't
YouTube,
have to
watch
be
videos.
perfect, right? You don't have to know everything, or you don't have to have a degree in A, B, C, and D, or you don't have to have bucket loads of years of experience in A, B, C, or D to get started and start doing research and start investigating.
Yeah, basically knowledge is power. So having the books, you know, the book smarts.
Show us your book.
Books, going on. Oh yeah, this is.
I've read this book.
Water Horse of Lake Champlain, The Search, and it says not for resale, but that's because this is my proof copy. But this book is actually available online right now as just the digital print, which is on Amazon.com. I'm revising this with some new information and sightings as well. So that'll be probably out in a couple of months. See how much stuff I have to do. It's crazy. But this is the book. Then I have, what the hell is my other book?
Yeah, go and find that other one. Go and find that other one.
She's like, I've lost it.
Hang on. Oh my gosh. 1 second. What did I do with it? I have too many books. Oh, here we go. Found it.
Yeah.
Here's Hello Baby Champ. This is my children's book.
Yes, this is what I was going to ask you about. It was definitely on my list. Tell us about your newly launched Baby Champ book.
Champ.
Oh, it was so much fun to do, and I wanted to do something for the kids and to bring awareness of protecting Lake Champlain. That's like the biggest thing for me. And so this story is about this little girl that goes to Lake Champlain named Kaylee, meets Baby Champ. I'm not going to totally spoil it, but it's basically the start of their big adventure on Champlain. And the illustrations I did digitally, and it's very lifelike. And we Cindy Jolie, the marine biologist, helped me do the models of the champs, going by the sonar pictures, the video, and also the compiled eyewitness reports. So there's a lot of great illustrations in here, and that's actually me when I was little, which is quite funny. I cartoonized my face. So I'm in the book too, and my parents are in the book. And so yeah, it's really cool. It shows this part here, Baby Champ walking on land to meet Kaylee. So it's a great book. It's very informative for the kids about the ancient history of Lake Champlain as well. It talks about the different types of primordial fish that are in Champlain, the different types of fossils as well, trilobite. So it's really great. It's something I wanted to do for a long time, and it's a lot more fun than when I did this book, because this book was like 235 pages long and all scientific protocol, and it's like, meh. I like doing this one better.
Now you're like, I can put pictures in there.
Yes, exactly. That was a lot more fun to do.
Yeah. So that's available on Amazon?
Yes. Hello Baby Champ is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Walmart.com as well.
Oh, yay.
Oh, very good. Well, we know what our kids are going to be getting for Christmas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Little
And I
cryptid
know
book.
they'll love it. I even read it once in a while when I get blue, you know. It's like gotta read my baby champ book. That'll cheer me up.
Oh.
It's great.
That is so beautiful. Hey, I have another question for you, Katie Elizabeth.
Sure.
If you're happy to stick around. I know we've
All
like
right.
hit our 2 hour mark. I'm absolutely fascinated at the fact that you have managed to get protection put on Lake Champlain and Champ as a whole. So can you talk us through kind of what that is and how that came about and how you were a part of that? I've done a little bit of research, but I couldn't quite figure out where you fit into that and how what that actually is. It's really hard researching from New Zealand anything in the Northern Hemisphere because we get blocked on our internet quite quickly. So I was like a little list on my list of things to ask Katie Elizabeth, because obviously you know this. So please give us the information that we need on how did you create this, or how did you help to create this reserve, this protection?
Well, there was a couple of old laws from like 1981 that were put into play with New York and Vermont state legislature. The problem on the New York side was this one particular law in Port Henry, New York, which is a hamlet. It's called a hamlet of Morar, New York. All the laws that were put into play at that time were being dissolved. And I said, well, what the heck is going to happen with this champ protection law? Now, the thing that I didn't really like about the champ protection law that was wrote at that time was that it was stated the Lake Champlain sea serpent, like acting like it's just one, when in fact there's a population. So I said, I need to really change this. And just, I was really like nervous about going to the town offices and saying, hey, can we write a new champ protection law? I'm thinking these people are going to think I'm absolutely insane. And it was actually really funny because the pickup truck that I had at the time was not 4-wheel drive. It started snowing like crazy. I'm going across this big ass bridge that goes over Champlain. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm still going. I'm going to this meeting with the town supervisor. And so I got there and I'm just like, oh my God, I hope I look okay. I hope I'm presenting myself well. And so I went in there and I'm thinking this guy's gonna think I'm absolutely insane. Yeah, I'm trying to do my makeup and look nice. And I got this snow hat on my head looking ridiculous. And so I got in there and I looked at him and I'm like, hi, I'm like, you must think I'm totally insane. He's like, I don't. And I'm like, okay, well, tell me why you don't think I'm insane. And he said, because when he was a kid, he had seen something in the lake. He had many relatives who had sightings of something that they could not explain. So he said, listen, just tell me what you want to change and we'll see what happens. I'll just present it at the meeting.
Yeah.
So he went and it was funny because he told me that it was going to happen like 2 nights later. And actually, no, I think it was going to be a week later. And then they presented it much quicker. So I had no idea that the law was even passed until somebody emailed me and said, hey, I heard that your law was passed. And I'm like, what the hell, really? So I was so excited. And it was because of the echolocation recordings and all of that. At that time, I had not come out with I hadn't come out with the 2019 sonar yet. But with all of the eyewitness reports and the echolocation recordings and all of that, everybody voted for it unanimously. So it was really amazing. There was one person at the meeting that are like, that was laughing, and then they're like, okay, law passed, and she was like, huh? And then and like and it's someone I know that's a reporter for the newspaper and said to her, well, it worked, didn't it? And she shut her mouth real quick. So that was quite a victory to have that happen. It was really nice. And then after that had happened, one of the gentlemen that approved of passing a law, he actually told me that he had a sighting right
Right when?
Right when?
Right again. Right yesterday? About an hour beforehand? Oh, like right into this, eh? Like, this is so exciting. And one of the reasons I'm really into it is because this is something we were talking about with the Tasmanian tiger, right? With the thorn scene in Australia. How would you go about getting some sort of protection in place for those animals?
For an animal that is supposedly extinct, but it's not actually extinct.
100%, yeah. And you're still getting hundreds of sightings every year. I think there was something like 5,000 sightings in the last 2 years or something, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, how do you do that? And that was one of the reasons I really wanted to hear from Katie Elizabeth.
Oh, we've lost her.
Oh no, she's gone. Could you see the lightning in her window there as well?
I know. Then I heard the cat crying. I was like, oh yeah, it'd be my cat too.
Well, I tell you what, like if she can come back in, then we'll let her back in and we'll finish that little conversation. But man, that was mind-blowing. I absolutely I'm so happy that we had the opportunity to speak with her, because she's just like absolutely formidable. One of the most genuine, honest,
hardworking. Man, she is just doing so much stuff. She 100%. She's a wealth of knowledge. And she's just she's absolutely entertaining. She's such a cool person.
What a cool chat, man. Oh, we've definitely got to do this again. And like I think integrity is that number one word that she kind of brought out, and Katie Elizabeth said very clearly that integrity for her is the most important thing, and that's what keeps her balanced within a crazy industry of people saying A, B, C, D, bringing up stories,
making stuff up. Yeah.
And I think that's something that we as Cryptid Women's Society try to bring through to all of our live streams and the content that we post. We try all the time to get the right story from the right people and pay respect to the people that have actually had those encounters, versus just, we're going to use your story and we're not going to talk about you. We try our best to do that. Sometimes we don't manage it. And sometimes we screw up a little bit, and we appreciate everyone supporting us in this little journey that we're on. It's definitely a learning journey, eh, Jules? We're learning a lot.
And it's stuff, and like today, talking to Katie, there's so much, so many other things going on around Lake Champlain. It's been going on for years. So, and really interesting, how she's saying how those the military planes are now flying over. It all, like we say, we don't get into the conspiracy stuff too thingy, but when stuff like that's happening, and then it's happening at Loch Ness, and then it's, it's you're like, there's got to be some connection here.
We don't believe in coincidences, there is always connections with everything. And I love the connections between the Taniwha, which is New Zealand's sea monster and lake monster, and at Lake Champlain, like especially the sunbathing, coming up onto the rocks and up onto the shore to sunbathe. That blew my mind. I didn't realize that was a connection. And
I didn't realize there so many kind of land sightings either. So
I looked up the Saurian monster, which is in the 1980s up in the Waikato. There was a sea monster seen by a couple of boys who literally came out of the ocean or one of the lakes, and then climbed up onto the rocks, onto a semi-cave, and sunbathed up there. And it was huge, super long, and it had 4 legs. I found that really interesting, because there's so many connections that can be made between the conversation that we've had with Katie Elizabeth and her evidence, right? And man, she is talk about like an encyclopedia of evidence. Do you know? Like,
she has had so many sightings, and and like the evidence that she has collected, and that's what, for me, that's what makes it so amazing, like all the work that she's done, and she has stuck at it, and she has, and she'll continue to do it, and I'm sure we will get a lot more out of her, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with.
Could you imagine getting her on an airplane and bringing her to New Zealand or Australia? It'd be so much
fun. So maybe her power's gone out. We may not get her back. But that's okay. But we will get her back again. We are going to get her into Dungeon Talk. Pre-interview, we were talking about other parts of the industry, which we'll discuss in Dungeon Talk.
The good, the bad, and the muddy.
The good, the bad, and the muddy. Yes,
And
yes,
the
yes,
muddy.
yes.
100%. And if you want to join us in Dungeon Talk, all you have to do is go and jump onto cryptidwomensociety.com, become a Truth Seeker member, and then you'll get access to all of the rooms in the members portal. You'll get access to the Arcane Library, where it has documents and books and all sorts of things in there. You'll get access to the gathering, where you get to talk with everyone, share evidence, stories, all of that sort of stuff. We have the dungeon, of course, R18, where we do Dungeon Talk once a month, and obviously information's dropped in there as well. And that has the Forbidden Files, which is a naughty wee bookshelf of interesting books. R18.
And they're always growing. Our library is growing all the time. So there's stuff being added all the time. So
we also have VIP interviews in Shadowtalk, interviews that haven't been released to the general public. They're literally live stream for our members to come in and ask questions to these amazing guests that we've had, join us in Shadowtalk. And so if you want to be a part of that, all you've got to do is get over to cryptidwomensociety.com and become a truth seeker. It's simple. So, Miss Juliet, what is happening next week?
I don't know. What is happening next week?
I do. I know. Next week, Juliet and I are going to open the folder on her Egypt trip.
Oh, we are.
We are going to look at videos and photographs that have never been seen. Juliet has taken thousands of photos and videos, and she hasn't looked through any of them. So we are literally going to do that live. God knows what we're going to get. I really hope there's no naked photos in there, because we'll be looking at those
photos. But we do have hieroglyphs of dinosaurs and plesiosaurs and stuff like that, which is really
little weird horned beasts and things like that.
Beasts, devil-looking things. Lots of strangeness going on in Egypt. And we went to probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 different temples, maybe more, a lot of different temples and places.
And you got into places that you shouldn't have got into, right?
Places that we shouldn't have. And we're crawling through little tunnels and so, we've seen the helicopter hieroglyphs, we've seen the light bulb ones. I tried to go to all the strange places I could.
So it'll be interesting, because I haven't seen these either. And if you've ever wanted to go to Egypt, and I'm pretty sure Egypt is on every single person in the world's bucket list. I know it's on mine. This is a really great opportunity to look at the temples and Egypt as a whole through a perspective, or through the glasses of a paranormal investigator, of somebody that kind of veers towards the supernatural. You're not just going to get the mainstream rubbish that they show in all the pictures and all the books and stuff. You're actually going to get a perspective where we're searching for those weird supernatural
naughty things.
things that shouldn't be there. So join us next week. It is going to be so much fun. If you want to get in touch with us, you can DM us on Instagram or Facebook, or right here on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You guys and girls have been so great. I hope you learned a little bit. Did you learn something, Juliet?
I learned a lot from Katy. Yeah. There's definitely, and reading her book is amazing. It's not overly technical for people out there. Sometimes there's these books that have been released and you just read them and go, so she's got a lot of eyewitness accounts, a lot of like the investigations that she has done, about how she came to, like a little bit deeper into, how she became a lover of Champ and followed that kind of followed that line. And a lot of interviews and witness accounts, which are really, really cool. So there's a lot of that stuff. A lot of different parts of what people have come out, what they think that Champ could be, from, you know, the ancient dinosaur perspective. It's from a cultural perspective. Yeah, the book is amazing, and the fact that she's doing an update with it will be even cooler.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
So definitely go check out her stuff, follow her, support her. Go have a look at her awesome videos. She has done some very cool stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And you can find her at Champ Search Foundation. The Champ Search, all you have to do is Google search that. You can Google search Katie Elizabeth as well. Anytime you search Katie Elizabeth and Lake Champlain or Champ, all of her socials will come up. Sort of stuff. Go give her some support because she's doing freaking amazing work and she deserves it. And you were great, Juliet. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. It's so cool. We have so much fun doing this. And this is very cool. And then like we said, getting on the people, the woman that we really, really want to interview, it was just very, very cool. So
loved it. Loved every second of it. Anyway, we love you all. We'll see you next week. Bye.
And we stay on here a bit longer so we don't cut it off again.